what are we in, September? Yeah, September, Executive and Finance, Richland County Executive and Finance Standing Committee Director. Roll call, please, Mr. Kalish.
Carol.
Here.
Schoonover.
Here.
Manny. Here. Turk.
Here.
Frank. Here. Williamson.
Here.
Louis.
Here.
Yellowclaw.
Perfect, thank you. Agenda approval, one change. We would like to move item 18 up underneath item 10 and then just bump everything else down to accommodate Mr. Mike Day would be available to give us an update and stuff on everything related to the tower project. So is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
27-point agenda looking, Mr. Manning makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Frank. Oh, 16 is, well, you want to, oh, we're going to scratch 50. All right, scratch 50. The other change. With the amendment to the agenda as given, all those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. I did. Yeah, verification. Okay, did we?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The meeting.
We, as always, we always are within the law. Good. Minutes from August 25th. Anybody have corrections, additions, changes? If not, I will approve them as presented in our packet. Moving on to public comment, item 6. Item 6, public comment. We have the new form for those that aren't aware of it. Nobody in the gallery, anybody online for public comment? None, we'll move forward to reports. 7A is our administrator's report.
All right, so we have created an accounts payable process utilizing the Tyler system and rolled out this process with all departments today. So starting tomorrow, department heads will be able to enter in their own invoices into Tyler for processing, and then checks will continue to be cut through the clerk's office. So this is really part of our process to maximize the use of Tyler. The fair happened this past weekend. Things went well and they had large crowds from what I'm being told. I do want to take a moment to thank Josh Elder, Randy Nelson, and Brian Thielman. They put in approximately 18-hour days, each of the days of the fair, to ensure that things run smoothly. So that is much appreciated. Karen Knock, Sandy Campbell, and Hugo Santiago are also other county employees who were there donating their time to make the fair a success. There were also other community members who stepped up and donated their time, and I want to just thank all of them who were there. Steve, I know you were there quite a bit just to make this fair successful.
Myself and Julie Fleming as well.
We are looking to conduct interviews for the ambulance director early next week. We will be having a community forum on September 29th. I believe there has been at least one or two of these in the past, and it will be an opportunity for the county, the city, the school district to share information on updates that they have and what kind of things they've been doing. And it will be at 6 p.m. at the Phoenix Center. And then we have rolled out the employee assistance program effective September 1st. And then at the department head meeting later this month, our provider will be in attendance to share with the department heads how the program can best support their staff. Those are my updates right now.
The program is available for supervisors.
It is, yes, yes. So I will have at the full county board meeting, I will have that information available for you to take home so that you are able to utilize the program.
The 29th is a Monday. I just wanted to double check. All right, radio tower. Questions? Anybody with questions on what the administrator has presented? Okay, let's move on to the radio tower project update.
So I did have an update in the packet. I think the only update that's different from what is in there was the antenna work at the towers did start this week. It was supposed to start the first week of September. They did make it there, so they did make it there this week and have started to climb the towers to get the equipment up there. But that's the latest update that we have.
I just have one question, just to kind of get it up to speed. What was Yuba using before the new towers were constructed?
I don't know if Yuba had a site before.
So you had a fire site that they owned and had, and then that didn't work, and then the county did put up a site and then the cables were broken. Site they were responsible for, then put IUPD. A small unit then was put on the fire station.
Because I was just up there and they had really good papers over me more than 8 years. And they were kind of complaining about the new tower, but at the time they didn't realize the tower was even turned on yet, so. Right.
And it's not, so we're still hoping for December 15th is our hopeful turn on crossover date.
Anybody else with questions on the radio tower update? If not, let's move on to item 8, discussion and possible action on the 2026 preliminary budget.
So there was additional information that was requested at the last meeting. There are 3 different handouts that were added to the packet, and I will have Derek spend a couple minutes explaining those, and then we'll take time to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, so in your packet, item number 8 is the same PowerPoint that we presented last time. So none of those figures changed. As I noted at the last executive finance meeting, some more documents with updated totals from various, or is it like various state pieces will start to come in. So there may be some modifications that we look at next month, just because we were, estimating numbers, and then the state releases final numbers, like the levy limit worksheet will be available here shortly. And some other shared revenue numbers and stuff like that will start to trickle in as we get closer to November. So this summary has not changed any. What I did add were attachments 8A, B, and C. So these have been the documents that we've really used to compile the budget. Attachment A, the draft, the levy by department, breaks down the 2025 levy and the 2026 levy by department, and then shows you the difference between the 2 years. So this is composed of the page you see before you here, the summary page, which, like, I'm just gonna pick on the county clerk because I happen to know his budget pretty well. You can see the county clerk line there, and my levy in 2025 was 181,651. My levy in 2026 is 176,538. So I have an overall reduction in my share of the levy by $5,000. I won't go into the details of why that is, but this document gives you that breakdown for all of these departments. So as you scroll through the additional pages, you can see all the budget lines. So these lines are all the budget worksheets that we send out to departments to fill out. And this information was entered into here, and then we used to use this to enter the budget into the AS 400. Obviously, Tyler does it a little different, or we're able to upload things in there, but this gives you a line by line revenue and expense of each of these different departments. So I also want to remind you that these documents were kind of accounting-based documents as well. We use them to just review the budget when we're having our budget meetings with department heads, to quickly analyze where they were at last year versus this year, and then to help us reconcile the levy to make sure that we're balancing the budget to what we get for the levy. So this is for each department, the revenues, the expenditures, and the levy summarized in the sheets that I'm scrolling through here. So this information is the same information that appears in the PowerPoint that I had. It also appears in the other 2 documents I'm going to show you. So to make sure that we have the data entered correctly, a couple different ways, we would enter the same number in 3 different documents. And as we were going through, as long as we were getting the same number for each time, we were confident that items were matching and that there was no data entry errors or anything like that. So this document gives you the breakdown by department, okay? So I'm not gonna go through each of these line by line by line, but that's what that first attachment does for you. And then if you go back to the first page, which I know people are watching online, so I don't want to scroll too fast, but again, these documents from the packet. So when you go to that first page there, you can see the levy we had last year was the 10,341,005. The proposed levy at this point is 10,851,250. So it gives you the difference of about $510,000. So that's what this sheet does. This gives you that by department, okay? So that's that document. I'm going to go to the other ones, and then we'll come back if you have questions. So then attachment B, 8B, is this tax levy distribution, and this is by fund. So we break it down by department and then we break it down by fund. And this document truly really is an accounting document. And I say that because if you look at the bottom, there's debits and credits in the accounts that we use to debit and credit things too. So this is really an accounting document. I know that my predecessor and past county boards have really used this as a budget document as well. So I'm giving it to you all because this is just what many of you are used to seeing, and it is what we have been using this year to make sure that items are entered into Tyler correctly as well. So really gives you the same information as that other sheet. It just breaks it out by fund. So when we go to distribute the accounting portion of that fund, we know what to debit, we know what to credit, and we know what fund to do that to. So again, same information, just presented in a different manner. It has all of the revenue lines and the expenditure lines that you had before. Again, just grouped by where they live at in fund instead of department. And this is helpful because this kind of lets us see a different picture of where funds are going by department. Also helps us reconcile if there's any variations, just like the other sheet does, between totals from one year to the next, for us to look at if there is a large variance, and if there is, then we can, you know, dig a little deeper. So that's what this document does. So if you look, like you see Fund 10, you see Fund 120, also known or previously known as Fund 12, that changed with Tyler. Again, just breaks this down by what fund gets a levy. I'm going to tell you that, you know, the Fund 10 is composed of many different departments. So remember, when you're looking at that balance, you're looking at the clerk, the sheriff's, I mean, anything that's in Fund 100, sorry, I say Fund 10 because that's what I know, but this document is additional information for you to review. Again, same information as you had in the other two I just had on the screen. So it goes all the way down through all the different funds that we have. Ends at Fund, I think Fund 98 is our highest, Fund 97. And then you'll notice like the ARPA funds, some of those other funds that are just really pass-through funds aren't on here. This is tax levy. So that's what this sheet does. Breaks it down by department, or by fund, sorry. Next sheet is the workbook. So that would be 8C, I believe. So then this, again, is every revenue and expense line that comes from the budget worksheet. So departments would fill out their budget worksheet. We would upload that budget worksheet into Tyler, and then we would manually enter all of those totals into this spreadsheet. We did it this year just to make sure Tyler was picking up stuff and we had the same numbers and everything was configured correctly. I'm sincerely hoping we don't have to do all this manual data entry next year because the system should do that for us, but I wanted to make sure that everything was picked up and that the system was doing what we needed it to do for us. So this workbook gives you yet another view of that same information. Also up here, it gives us the nice summary and kind of how we work our way back down to our allowable levy. Again, this has served as the budget workbook, but has also served as an accounting document as well. Okay, so what you're seeing here is all revenues, all expenditures. You're going to see things highlighted because I didn't have like the TID values in when we had this summary ready. I now have them, but this is also a living, breathing document that gets updated as we, you know, work on the budget. So going through this whole sheet will give you all of our revenues. Again, I know I'm scrolling through this, but you guys have this before you. Gives you all of our expenditures. And this is broken out by category. So like public safety, general government, another way to break this up and look at these categories. This is also the information we share with folks at Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals when we're filling out information for borrowing. So this, and part of the breaks here, again, this is more of an accounting document than anything else, but we have all of our budget items here. Also lets us look at, you know, 2024, where we're going to end for 2025, projection for 2026. Also goes into the highway budget. So here's the summarized highway budget. And then this is our debt service. This says for information only, this is just where we're tracking the debt service items. So this was formerly known as the workbook, still called the budget workbook, likely going to look very different next year because Tyler really should streamline these processes for us, and we should have a little more of a beefed up budget workbook, like many counties have budget workbooks that are hundreds of pages. The other thing that I have for you all, and if you look behind you, this is the paper sheets for the budget workbook. So all of this is condensed into what you have there. So I did bring this workbook if anyone would like to page through the amount of pages that we have. So those are the documents that we have typically, used to assemble the budget. I don't have any additional ones we use. I think this hopefully gives you the breakdown for all those individual device items, and then gives you the summary by fund and by department. So with that, again, I'm not gonna read every line to you because we'll be here till tomorrow. But nonetheless, that I believe was the extra information, or hopefully what you guys were looking to see when we met last time. I know there was some additional information requested, so I have nothing else to add to these documents, unless Administrator Clements has anything else to add to these, but I do not at this point. I'm happy to entertain questions.
Mr. Carroll.
Just wanted to say, I think I was one of those looking for something like this, and this is what I was looking for. Very helpful, especially 8C, what's out there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question, Derek, line 17 on revenues, intergovernmental revenues. Is that state share revenue, Bear Creek Solar, is that yearly or was that? I couldn't remember.
That's yearly. It's included in those total state aids. So that is factored.
So we're getting
into
just over 2 million.
Yeah, it's factored into that. So that includes, so I'm looking at the workbook or the presentation we had last time. So yes, Steve, that would be lumped into that state aid, basically 4,200 line.
Okay. For those that didn't know, we do have a $2 million.
That includes our state share revenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The shared revenue is the big part.
That is shared and Bear Creek.
Yeah, because they all come together as part of it.
One check. Perfect. Anybody else with questions for Derek? Mr. Frank?
So looking at the county sales tax for 2026, did the state give you a formula to,
No,
what's that up, or what's your projection?
I mean, I just go over the algorithm, so we really just try to look at the past years and extrapolate out. I would say we budget pretty conservative with that because I don't want to anticipate this huge number and then not get it. So we're always a little conservative. There's always a bit of a cushion that I try to build into there, knowing that, I'm not leaving a huge cushion, but enough that I'm not gonna lose sleep over if we don't collect it. So, I feel confident with this number. I know Ashley, the county treasurer, has also looked at this as well. So we do our best with what we have for, historical data.
Yeah, I just asked because if the state was giving you a formula, that doesn't always mean that's going to meet what our needs are.
That's correct.
So I want to. Thank you.
Further questions in regards to the budget?
I know last time we did go over, just to review the highlights you have up there, the 2026 preliminary budget highlights. This does include, us really honoring that wage scale and sticking to that wage scale. So moving everyone up one step on the wage scale. Again, that's, we committed to that and we went through all that work to do the wage study last year. There's no COLA increase here. It would just be that one step forward of the scale. We added the radio tower tech and the operations funding for that. Sorry, it's way here. And then a little bit of restructuring in some departments. And then obviously focus on maintaining and enhancing cybersecurity. So those were some of the things that we didn't have last year that we knew we had to work into this 2026 budget. Yeah, 2026 budget, sorry.
Thoughts, group? Questions? Any other questions? My question would be if, for 1 year, if we might be better off contracting a radio tower tech instead of adding another county position, but I didn't know, was that person also gonna be doing some IT stuff?
It would be, yes.
I kind of thought that's the way it was presented, but we would hate to add a position and then next year when we have to, maybe that wouldn't be the position chop, but if we have to chop positions next year. Those were my thoughts. If not, we need to move this on if we're good with it to.
I think we'll present this at county board then as of September. So if there's anything we need to do, we'll have another finance meeting in the first part of September to wrap that up, or October, sorry, about our other finance meeting later this month. We'll have another one in October, the first part, and then our budget hearing is gonna be scheduled for October 20th. So I need to start getting this notice ready. So if there's any feedback or anything that we need to adjust, I would greatly appreciate those brought forward next Tuesday at the latest, so we can meet with departments, figure out what we need to figure out, and I can get our budget notice in. October's gonna be good.
This is some of the clearest numbers put together and organized that I've seen. Come forward, so thank you. This is great.
So then just to clarify, I'm gonna move forward kind of with this, we'll present this, and we'll deal with anything after the conference and executive finance and the next.
And we'll have one more meeting this month if
Yep.
anybody thinks of something after they review more of this.
Great.
Otherwise, we're good? Now? Okay. Let's move on to item 9, discussion and possible action on the initial resolution authorizing not to exceed $1,885,000. Obligation promissory notes, capital improvement projects, item 9.
Okay, so, we do have Carol Worth on the line with us, Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals. Carol has worked with the county for many years and done many issues of bonding with the county. So I'm gonna hand it off to her here in a second, but I just wanted to tell you, I did put that resolution 25-54 in your packet. I know it was requested last time that we, had a little refresher on what we borrowed for. So it's on this resolution, but I also know that Carol provided a very nice handout that she will go over, which also again tells you what this is for. So Carol and I, great minds think alike, Carol, because we both have the same thing on the thing there. So I will hand it off to you, Carol.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for allowing me to present virtually tonight. Okay, so tonight we are talking about doing short-term borrowing for our 26 capital improvement projects. This is the 6th time that the county has done the short-term borrowing for capital projects. And as you are all aware, the county's limitations with the levy limits with regard to its operating budget is the reason why we're having these discussions and doing these borrowings. The expenses in your operating budget include both the operational expenses as well as capital projects. So in order to provide more room within the budget for operating expenses, some of the capital projects are removed and we borrow for them very short term, which is approximately 3 months. And we do that, we're creating general obligation debt, and general obligation debt is not subject to the levy limits. So it does allow us to create a tax levy for that principal and interest payment, but we do not carry that debt out very long. We keep it very short. So the projects that we are borrowing for are listed on this page. And in addition, there are expenses associated with borrowing because we're going out to the municipal bond department. So that includes fees for our firm, which we are the municipal advisor to the county. We have a fiduciary duty and act in that capacity for the county. There are what's called preliminary and final official statements, which is a prospectus on the county that goes out to solicit interest from the investors. And we have bond counsel services, which is the firm of Quarles and Brady. So the total of those fees is that $22,750. We add that to the total of the projects, and that's what gets us in $5,000 denominations to an issue size of $1,085,000. Okay. So moving to the next page. The very first step in a borrowing process, for any borrowing process for any county, is the adoption of what's called an initial resolution. That's the starting point. It's a starting point that's required under the Wisconsin statutes. The purpose of this is to give the county board authority to borrow. And you're not borrowing when you're adopting the initial resolution. You're giving yourselves authority to borrow at a future date. So the initial resolution does not commit the county board to do a borrowing. It just provides the authority to do a borrowing. So If for some reason a county board adopted an initial resolution and never did a borrowing in the future, it just expires. So just an important point to remember. So it does contain a few limitations. There is a not to exceed dollar amount. And in this case, it's the $1,085,000. And there's language that describes what the borrowed funds can be used for. Now, the language in this resolution says it's for paying the cost of 2026 capital improvement projects. Borrowed funds cannot be used for operating expenses. An initial resolution does require a 3/4 vote of county board members elect. So you need 16 yes votes in order to pass an initial resolution. Okay. After that step has been accomplished, the next step is to begin to prepare to enter the municipal bond market. The notes themselves are called general obligation promissory notes. They are issued as tax exempt and bank qualified obligations. So that means that the investor who purchases these notes does not pay taxes federally on the interest on the notes. Bank qualified means that any bank can purchase the notes or any portion of the notes, and on their interest, they receive certain tax advantages. So because they are tax exempt, the federal government gets involved and says, okay, then we're going to restrict in terms of how long you have to spend the money. Now, because we are borrowing $1,085,000, the federal law requires or allows the county 3 years to spend the money, at which time the money can be invested at any yield, unrestricted, at any yield you can get. Okay, so now based on the type of projects that you're looking at, it appears you will be spending the money a lot sooner than that, but nonetheless, this is what the federal law requires you to do. The notes themselves are very short term. They are outstanding for about 3 months. They are going to be paid off on March 1 of 2026, which is the earliest that your bond counsel, Quarles and Brady, feels comfortable with having them paid off. And the reason is because there are taxes levied and taxes collected beginning in, well, there are some collected in December, but January and February are also dates that your citizens have to pay off their taxes or make their tax payments. So that's the reason for the March 1, 2026 payoff date. So during the month of September, we prepare to enter the bond market with the official statement, which I described as a prospectus on the county. And then there is an official notice of sale. And that is sent out to the marketplace that tells anyone who wants to submit a bid how to submit that bid. And there are also legal documents prepared by Quarles and Brady during that month. Then in the sale date in October 20th is the date that we would actually be taking bids. They come to us in a variety of ways. A lot of them come to us on bidding platforms, electronic bidding platforms that the underwriters use to submit their bid. Sometimes we get bids through email. Sometimes someone will call us up and I will take their bid. And if there are any banks that would like to submit a bid and need assistance, I will certainly assist them with submitting their bid. Then the county board that same day, so we take the bids in the morning. In the afternoon, the documents are prepared, the final what's called award resolution. So that's another resolution the county board will take action on October 20th. And that will lock in that final interest rate that we received through the bidding process that same morning. And it will officially award those notes to whoever the winning bidder is. Now that resolution only requires the vote of the majority of the county board members present at that meeting. Okay, it's not like the initial resolution requiring that 3/4 vote. So the adoption of the 26 budget would include the tax levy for the principal and interest on the notes. And that portion of the tax levy, like your other debt service tax levy, is calculated outside of the levy limits. On November 19th, that's the closing date. All funds are coming to the county through a wire transfer that all at one time. It goes into the project account, can be invested at an unrestricted yield, and it stays there until all the funds are spent for project costs. Then on March 1st of 2026, the principal and interest on the notes is repaid with taxes that are collected. Okay, then going on, you'll see what we have is the estimated debt service schedule, and pricing schedule. Now, this is showing the starting with the closing date of November 19th. It shows the principal and interest calculation that would be paid off on March 1st of 2026 at an interest rate, or they call it a coupon, of 4.25%. That's an estimate. And the estimate is arrived at by looking at the pricing schedule below. The market is the yield column, and that shows 3%. That's the yield to the investor. Now, we get to the 4.25% depending on how much the underwriter is going to charge for his underwriting services. So that's the unknown right now. I don't know what that number is, but it's a good estimate. If he worked for what's called $3 a bond, he could work for less. I don't anticipate he would work for more than that, but that's how we get to the 4.25. So right now, market conditions are very good. The municipal market had a rally this Monday because they anticipate that the Federal Reserve is going to lower rates at their next meeting. So the market reacted right away and lowered yields. So who knows when by the time we get to that October sale date, we might have better results than what we're showing you today. But nonetheless, we always do an estimated tax rate impact by taking the total principal and interest. In this case, it's at $1,098,065. And we divide it into your most recent 2025 equalized value to get that tax rate of 51 cents per thousand, or $51 per 100,000 of property value. Okay. And the following page is the initial resolution itself. Again, as you can see in the title, it's a not to exceed. It's the important part is says initial resolution authorizing. So again, this gives the county board authority, a not to exceed number, $1,085,000. And in that first be it resolved paragraph, the last sentence talks about that same number and for the purpose of paying the cost.
Well, I'm assuming.
Of 2026 capital projects. Okay. This would be for the county board approval on September 16th. So I took you through a lot of information. I'm ready for any questions you may have.
Anyone with questions for Carol? Most of us in this room, other than Mr. Randy, have been through this.
Mm-hmm.
I am not hearing anybody online with questions for Carol. I think you're good, Carol.
All right, very good. Well, then I look forward to seeing you on the 16th.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So do we need to move that to the 16th? Okay. So if we have no other discussions on it, I need a motion to move it on. Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr. Frank. We'll move it on to full county board to borrow the $1,085,000 with Carroll and company there, and it will start the process. All those in favor of moving on to full county board signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you on that one. We're gonna move number 18 up, correct? Number 10, move 10. Discussion and possible action on approval of scope of engagement with Quarles and Brady LLP for insurance of the $1,085,000. That is the packet.
It is, and it's number 10. So you'll recall at the last meeting, you approved the municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals. So that this is the Quarles and Brady, the bond counsel that Carol mentioned, to the, as the other kind of player in this, the borrowing seat. So the letter that you have before you is what Quarles and Brady have provided, to be our bond counsel. So we typically bring these here for you guys to approve the scope of engagement as a part of the borrowing outlined by Quarles and Brady, who we've worked with, as Carol said, and I know many times. So I just need we need to approve this to move to council.
Looking for a motion by Cooley, seconded by Manning. All those in favor of taking Quarles and Brady LLP for insurance on the obligationary promissory notes signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Now we move to item. Discussion and possible action approval of change order for the radio tower project. 18 becomes 11.
In the package, you will see that the change order is in there for the tower's site construction of the Yuba site, and I did request Mike Day to be on the meeting today and kind of explain the history of how we got to this point.
Can you hear us, Mike?
Hello?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, a little history for those who don't know, may know and forgot. Originally, when the county went out for bid on the civil work, we had a site across the street, actually, from the current location. And that site, as the county moved forward, fell through with the landowner. The tentative agreement contract, the landowner started asking for a lot of changes to that, and I think kind of gave the county team an uneasy feeling about some of those changes. So we ultimately couldn't come to an agreement with that landowner and started looking around for some other locations, and settled on this one with the landowner on the other side of the road, and was able to kind of keep the design in place and all the results. And so we moved forward from there, but then this spot, unfortunately, across the street was more of a field, and this spot had a location where it drops off on the from the road pretty quickly. So the big item that it was needed at this location is a retaining wall. As you can see there, it's quite an extensive retaining wall, not just some small concrete blocks. It's more of some precast stones that they have to move around with skid loaders and set on a foundation. And so that is the big item. But also some other items come along with that, being that they've kind of got to install the wall and build up the location a little bit, so the footing for the shelter and some other items add to it as well, and ultimately get us to this change order to finish off this final site. So that being the $251,701, which we're still within the budget, but ultimately takes away most of our or all of our civil contingency money and some of our radio contingency money. But yeah, that's the summary. I don't know if anybody's got any questions about this one.
Mr. Carroll does.
Yes, on the retaining wall, how was the price for that determined?
This is strictly something that since we had the civil contractor already in place, they sent it out to engineering and had the folks who sell the wall itself provide a design. We have used these in other projects, both True North and Edge Consulting, your civil engineering firm. And so we did take a look at the proposal and compared it to some previous understandings and find it to be in order with what we've seen on other projects.
So you don't have pre-agreed unit pricing for materials and labor?
Say that again.
Your contract with them did not have pre-agreed unit pricing that could be used for confirming the total price on something like a retaining wall? For
No, we
example-
did not have any other retaining wall work in the project to make any comparisons to.
Okay.
Bob, question?
Yeah, so, under the bonding, I'm guessing that's the ground bonding network. Is that an add-on of 10,000 for that? Wouldn't that have been included with the tower structure anyway?
I do believe that is the correct understanding of the bonding, but yeah, it's because of the additional, I guess, needs based on the ground that is an add-on to the original estimate. Yes.
I guess at that point, I'd be really curious why the bonding the tower wasn't sufficient. Because the buildings are in the same place, the tower's in the same place. Circular bonding shouldn't make a difference. I'd be curious to get a clarification on that number somehow.
Okay. Yeah, that, like I said, the only understanding I had was that it was based on larger needs, I guess, with the fill and such at the site.
Yeah, can we get a more clarification on that, on what that add-on was? Because that just seems quite high to add.
Certainly.
And Mike,
Yes,
it
we will.
says added shelter. Well, didn't we have a shelter planned in the original sign across the street?
Yes, the shelter piece, it's based on the foundation itself. So the previous shelters basically sat on the ground in a footing or a poured footing, where this one is required a poured wall foundation to it. So the foundation had to erect the forms and pour an actual foundation wall and then cap that wall off. So that was the additional piece for the shelter.
Okay. Further questions, committee, for Mr. Day? So I guess we have anybody online with questions for Mr. Day? Oh, we had a few early. Do we still have quite a few, Terry? Mr. Carroll has a question.
I just want to understand the chain of approval between the civil contractor to where it is us, who all has signed off on this for us.
They have signed off on it, not us. The Edge and Finish Excavating, those are the two that have signed off. We will not sign off until full county board approves.
And that's the two at the bottom.
Finish is the ones that are actually doing the work, right?
Yep,
So that's not signing off, that's giving us the number they think it takes to do the work.
yes.
Who approved that number and passed it on to us?
They just gave it to us, correct, Mike? When they had to move the site, they said, we'll move it, but this is the additional cost that you're gonna have to pay to do this.
Understood.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so Edge Consulting, the civil engineer, provided the new plans, And from those plans, that's where these understandings, and of course, in the design of the wall, having it designed and identified, that's where the additional costs have come from and been developed from.
Right, but
Can you get that
you
from
guys edged the ones that then took the number from finish and said, yes, this looks reasonable, let's pass it on to the county.
That's correct. I mean, I've looked at it myself, have an understanding of it, but ultimately Edge is probably the more highly integrated vendor that you have to really give you the approval of it, and they have done that.
All right, thank you.
Bob, a question?
Well, I guess I'd just like to see how they came up with those numbers. I mean, I guess my question is the bonding, it sounds like Steve's is the retaining wall cost.
Well,
Because I'd like to know what those numbers are before, like,
I haven't seen the site, but if you spend 200,000 on a retaining wall, you shouldn't have to spend 20,000 more on walls you should be able to put a stick-built building up. I would assume that's what your plan was, but without seeing the site, I don't know.
yeah, and you're not gonna put a stick building for a radio network, you're gonna have a sealed, almost like a refrigerated unit that you can seal, and that's not what it is.
Actually, most of them I've seen are dropping, but you buy them and they're prefab.
Right, and they sit on a
That's-
slab.
When I worked for the DNR, we had several throughout the state.
Yeah, that's how we did it.
Gary, you got a question?
Had almost more than one person. Yeah, I can do it.
Did you hear the question, Mike?
No, I'm sorry, I did not.
No, I didn't figure you probably did. Gary Manning, Supervisor Manning asked on the 192,250 if that was just one person bidding on it, or did they have enough time to get further bids, or that was his question?
I guess the answer would be just the one bid from it. Yes. We really didn't have a bid process. You know, we've got the contractor working on the project, and so it kind of limits them to provide us an understanding, I guess. And I don't know if there was any other process we could have used.
Go ahead, Mr. Turk.
I would assume that keeping the project on track and on schedule is a pretty large consideration too, in which vendor we're gonna look at using.
It is. I mean, we ultimately had the contractor, under contract for the site. Obviously, they had the tower and all the other pieces to it. So we've got to kind of go with them, and I guess it's an unfortunate piece that we've had to open it up to this change. That really kind of falls back to the landowner and the failure to be able to get that previous landowner under contract. But and this site really providing the need and keeping the design in place for us, limited us just to move around to a lot of other locations.
Understood. Gary.
Wondering, the contractor we have there, is he doing the retaining wall or is he subcontracting that out?
No, they are building the wall, the contractor that we had, and they just acquired the actual wall pieces from a vendor.
Any further questions, gentlemen?
We definitely have a time is of the essence here. I mean, time is critical, and we need the tower site. I mean, I understand that. I'm just.
Yep. Yeah.
The jump, but I'm thankful we have the contingency to be there to complete.
Definitely. So our next action would be approval of the change order, moving on to full county board, correct? Correct. So.
Can we see the numbers? Is there any breakdown numbers we could get prior to that before county board? let's move it on, but then we can have that final discussion at county board to get those numbers. Is that fair? Then I move this on to county board.
Motion by Frank, looking for a second to move it on to Polk County Board with the idea we're gonna get some more numbers prior to the Polk County Board meeting. Seconded by Chairman Turk. Any further discussion? All those in favor of moving it on to Polk County Board with the idea that we are going to get more information in regards to some of the numbers, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Right, thank you. Let's move back up to item 11, discussion and possible action resolution making changes in how ambulance service is provided by the county. Item 11.
So one of the things that we need to put in place, so with ambulance service, we provide services to different municipalities. It has been set up that the joint ambulance committee has been, I think, the committee that has guided decisions because of the fact that we are an administrator style of government and our memorandum of agreement is expiring at the end of this year. We are looking to update the memorandum of agreement with the municipalities that outlines that we will provide them services, outlines the cost of the services, and outlines that they will be an advisory only committee. So we have created a draft agreement. I worked with Attorney Wendell on that. We have created a MOU that rescinds the previous MOU. So we are looking for your approval on how the ambulance service is being overseen in the future.
Have you, anybody kind of looked at it? Questions, comments, or we can get it on the floor if you would like, and then we can discuss. Let's go that route. I would entertain a motion to move it forward, then we'll have our discussion.
Clarification.
Yes, sir.
Are we looking at just the MOU or are we also looking at the resolution that goes with it?
The resolution incorporates the MOU.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that.
So the
Hey.
arrangement is odd, but they should be considered more or less one document.
Okay.
Okay, so one resolution cover both.
Hello, I'd like to speak if I could. I don't know if I'm on or not.
I made a motion.
Second.
Motion by Turk, second by Frank. Now we're open for discussion. Who do we have on? Oh, Matt Williams, is that you?
Yep. Yep.
Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, so I guess what we're looking at from the township point of view, so our calls were averaging the last 4 years at about 54 calls a year. I see that now our per calls, you guys have averaged out a lot higher. So are we incorporating Pine Valley again? Because Pine Valley is not the township's responsibility for ambulance calls as it sat before. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, because we're used to paying $96.70 a year, and now your projection is $27,000. So that's a substantial amount. It's probably like what, 117% increase. So I'm just kind of trying to get some clarification. Are you guys trying to include Pine Valley on this? Because Pine Valley should not be part of the township's responsibility for ambulance calls in the previous years.
Pine Valley was included with Richland Center's numbers, but I can double check just to make sure. But-
Center or county?
I mean, sorry, Richland Center.
Okay.
Yes, with Richland Center,
So not the town.
not the town.
So why would that go under the city of Richland Center when it's in the township, but then there's agreement between the township and the county and Pine Valley, not like the county was going to take care of the Pine Valley calls? If I'm thinking this right, if I understand this right, I don't have a lot of paperwork in front of me. So I'm kind of shooting from the hips here, guys.
Mr. Wendell, do you have any thoughts? I have no idea.
I was just thinking this is something that we should maybe look into in
Okay.
negotiations with the municipality. Could advise that.
Very good question, Matt.
Could I speak?
Okay, so I have another one. I mean, if there's people, I can't see in that room, so I don't know if there's other people that have questions. If there is, go ahead and take them. But I'd like to say, just to ask another one whenever I can.
You got the floor now. Let's get it. We're gonna keep moving
Okay.
here, and then I've got another
So
one,
with-
yes.
Okay, so I guess with this, does all the other municipalities, was there a notice sent out that this raise was coming, or were we just supposed to hear through hearsay that this meeting was happening?
This was,
Because
the Joint Ambulance Committee was informed of this increase. I believe it was the July meeting, so they were notified a couple of months ago of this.
Good. Could you
and-
guys send that July meeting minutes, possibly over to our township clerk? Or is it online that we can see? Because I thought there was a July meeting, but then it got canceled, I thought.
I believe they are all online. I'm just double checking right now on that. What we're looking for today, though, is not to negotiate with the different municipalities. The call data is what we have, but we can, once the committee and the full county board has approved the resolution and the memorandum of agreement, it would then be sent out to municipalities with their call data, and it would be at that point in time that we would look to negotiate, like. Mr.
Okay.
Wendell
Yep.
said,
Yep.
look to negotiate.
We just
So
wanna be
where-
able to move the new MOU forward.
Sure. So where was your guys' research done on the price increase? Like what, that's a pretty big price increase for everybody. And I understand, I'm not complaining. I get the whole increase on tariffs and everything costs more. But was there a study done that came up with the conclusion that this was the price? Or I guess, how did you guys come to the conclusion that this is what everybody needed to pay?
So the previous rate had been in place for 4 years. What we looked at is really what we need to sustain our service. And then taking into consideration the overhead costs that are not included in the day-to-day cost of running the ambulance service. Things like our HR generalists, payroll, those are additional costs that weren't also factored in.
Okay. Okay, perfect. That's all I have for question as of tonight. Thank you guys very much for giving me the time to talk.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Palmer, question?
You were questioning that Pine Valley, just going back a little history. Back in 2014, when this was done, Mayor Corcoran volunteered. He said, just add Pine Valley to the city. He volunteered to take it, but it was my understanding from Darren Gudgeon that Pine Valley was never charged to anyone. Pine Valley, the jail, fairgrounds, and I don't know, there was one other, I think, that those were calls that never were billed to anyone. So I'm not sure that that ever was officially billed to Richland Center. But the reason it was because Corcoran said, charge Richland Center.
Okay, thank you for that history, Gordy. Any questions, further questions from the committee?
Just one.
Great, go ahead.
This $2,500 minimum fee, is that something that will be negotiated when we send this out to the township, or would that be just?
If it's approved by the full county board, then I wouldn't have the ability to negotiate that.
Because I see I represent Henrietta or Yuba, and they've only got 2.5 falls. That seems like quite a bit of money for falls.
So I did go through and I looked at what, how much revenue we would lose if we didn't have that $2,500 minimum. It would be $5,246. That's what our revenue loss would be.
And did we have this 2,500 prior to this?
That's new.
There was, I assume there was no minimum previously. It was only based on your calls, if I remember right. Mr. Carroll.
Percent these numbers. Then talking to the townships, that's not really negotiation.
I think what we would negotiate with townships is just confirmation of their numbers. So these are the this will call that.
Right.
That I believe is really the only thing that we would be negotiating once the MOU is approved by the full county board. But I think if like with, Mr. Williams said, if he had concerns that he didn't think these numbers were correct, those are the things that we would be looking into, double checking, making sure that we have all that data.
And to be clear, or to clarify, the call numbers are not incorporated into the resolution. So those can be adjusted later, even if the MOU is approved by the board. So before
So-
that
Hey,
final.
Michael, so what you're saying, Michael, so
Yep.
what you're saying, Matt Williams here. So what you're saying is what you guys are approving tonight is saying that it's this base price of instead of 125, it's $225. Is that correct, or am I getting
That's
this wrong?
correct. And then we will calculate, discuss, however, negotiate what the call volume has been for the last 4 years that sets what that amount ends up being. So right now, the county board is contemplating setting the rates, but not necessarily finalizing them for each municipality.
So I guess this might be a crazy thing. I know there's been a lot of discussion between everybody here, but the JAC, I think they've done a pretty well job on making notes on how many calls for the last 4 years. So are we taking their notes, or are we just drafting is the county drafting different numbers from different areas, or how are we coming up with the numbers of calls per year on a 4-year average then?
So the data that the JAC had came from the ambulance service. So what they did was they went in and looked at the calls that were billed through through the billing company. That's how those numbers were determined. They weren't numbers that the JAC came up with. They were numbers that were provided to the JAC by the ambulance service.
Actual
so you guys
documented calls.
Oh, so you guys have the 54 average for the 4-year average, or the 54 calls for the 4-year average, because that's what we got reported for the JAC for the last 4 years, and now we're being charged 100 and some calls.
So I don't know if the last agreement had the 54, but this new agreement goes off of your call numbers for 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Okay.
Richland went from 57, the last contract was 57.
Okay, thanks, Gordo. I'm not sure. I'm just shooting from the hip here, guys. Like I said, I'm not opposed. I get it. We have to have an ambulance service, 100%, right? But it's one of these things that, so you want to negotiate after it's already approved. So what's the negotiation? The number of calls, and then who's going to prove that different than you guys, right? You're going to have the hard numbers. So what are we negotiating really? We should be thinking about would the data come from, right? And how are you guys collecting that? And how are you guys splitting this accordingly? I heard a Henrietta guy say that, it's pretty expensive for 2.5, 3 calls. And he's right. But, I'm looking at us and like I said, we're paying for Richland Township $9,600 somewhere. And now it's going up $27,000. And I think everybody's probably very well aware where Richland Township is. I mean, we've probably got the crappiest roads in the county, right? And we're working on that. But I mean, every township, every county, every municipality is struggling to come up with extra money. You figure up the city of Richland Center at 109 usually year after year, the last 4-year average. And now they're going to be paying $180 some thousand. That's a lot of money. That's a huge increase. And how does anybody expect a municipality around here or in this county, to be honest, probably one of the brokest or poorest counties that we have in the state, to come up with this money to afford an ambulance service at that rate?
That's up to your supervisors. I mean, that's why it's gonna be going to full county board if we make approval here and state your case to them, have them bring it up. But I mean, that's my opinion. It's that, or, you have the option of opting out and trying to get your own ambulance service.
Right. And is that Steve? Steve, is that you that just said that? Hey,
Yeah.
so, and honestly, I really thought about that after I heard about this. So I really feel like the county is actually trying to price everybody out because the county doesn't want to deal with the ambulance service. And so they're trying to make it so unattainable for townships and other municipalities to be part of this, that you're just gonna make the price so high that we can't attain that. So then you
Matt,
guys
hold
get
on
out
1
and you
minute.
guys aren't the bad guy, right?
Mr. Turk's got a question and answer.
Yeah.
Question, but a comment. As we're looking at minimum charges for services and as we're looking at rates, as your administrator mentioned, the rate per call hadn't gone up in 4 years. Costs have gone up significantly in those 4 years. Just costs of supplies, costs of things that we have to buy to be able to have the ambulance ready to roll, let alone answering the call itself. And so part of that minimum cost is to ensure that we're able to sustain the structure of the ambulance service, to have functioning equipment, to have ambulances that will roll when you turn the key and try to start them. Our ability to have a crew on hand to respond when the call comes in. And our service winds up covering for many other area services who can't get a crew together. So we're supplying a service to a pretty wide area for a municipality to be able to buy into our service, that minimum charge, and then based on the call, that's reflecting what it costs us to run the service. And that cost has increased dramatically. And so to be able to sustain that, these are the numbers we're looking at and trying to build it sustainably. Otherwise, then we have to look at, all right, where else do we find money to put into this? We're not,
So Dave,
so we don't put tax levy money into it.
right. So Dave, where are you guys coming up with comps? Where are your comparables? I mean, do you guys have spreadsheets? Like I said, I'm via phone. I cannot make it tonight. Do you guys have spreadsheets of what another county's doing versus what we're doing? I mean, or are we reaching for the sky, pulling in a number and shaking the dice and flopping it out and saying, this is what the number is that we're going to go with? I mean,
What our administrator said before is these numbers are based on what it costs us to run the service.
So how does that compare to every other service around us?
Well, first off, I think that you have to remember that there are very few counties that have an ambulance service. We are truly one of the few.
You're
The
correct.
second thing that I think we need to remember is we have a aging population. The numbers in the previous MOU were based off of data from 17, 18, 19, and 20. So things have changed significantly. Our population continues to age. So this new MOU that is for 1 year, and maybe that will help with kind of having it seems like such a dramatic jump, but you have to remember the previous MOU was put in place with data from almost 10 years ago. 17 was 8 years ago. And so that's, we have come up with these numbers. So we don't have neighboring counties to compare with. And even if we did, we have to look at what we can do to maintain our service. That's where these numbers are coming from, is how can we have a service that we can function and provide services to the community?
No.
And if somebody doesn't agree with our rates, they are more than welcome to look at other options for their township,
So
for their city village.
So if the city, and let's just say the city of Richland Center and the township of Richland say, we're done, we're not going to use your guys' ambulance service. So how does the other townships, how are they going to be affected? Because they're going to have to pay more, right? Their price is going to have to cover $200,000 of a yearly fee then at that point, correct?
I think at that point in time, we would really have to take a look at what the future of our service is.
Okay, so I guess one last thing, and then I'm done, I'm out, and then you guys can make your decision. So I think Gordo kind of put up, the JAC started in 2016. And year after year, Gordo takes pretty good notes. And yes, he's our representative for Richland Township, but so he takes good notes, and year after year, from 2016 was the lowest year that they had of revolving money every year. And it seemed like 2-3 years ago, the money disappeared, right? And I'm not getting into that. I don't really care. No, we couldn't
Can you wrap it up? We've got a lot of things left.
Yeah, so we couldn't get an answer out of it, but all of a sudden we threatened not to pay a bill, and we got some progress about here's our finances. So are we going to be more transparent to the townships and the municipalities going forward on this, or is it going to be kind of trying to hide it behind the curtains, I guess? And then I'm done. I answer this and I'm done.
Yes, I would.
I think we're gonna leave it at that, Matt. We're gonna move on.
All
Thank
right,
you for
sounds
your
good.
input.
Guys, hey, I appreciate you guys giving me a time. Thank you.
You bet.
One more very quick question.
Go ahead, Gordy.
The present MOU and the one that you're proposing, MOU, does say that the memorandum may only be amended by a written document signed by both parties. So I know if you do something tonight, you've done your part. But the other party must be all the municipalities. Do they still have to sign something? I mean, to amend that, it's in both of those MOUs.
I would,
Yeah, every municipality would need to pass a resolution approving the the
new
memorandum agreement.
So
That's section 6.
So your one thing said that if this is approved, it becomes effective immediately. So it's not immediately tonight. Your committee approves of changes.
Correct. So this is the adoption. So this is the adoption of the memorandum agreement that the county will be using going forward. It does not invalidate the existing memorandum agreements, the existing MOUs. So those will run their duration. So they'll run to the end of the year. And then on January 1st, this will be the memorandum agreement that the county uses, and maybe municipalities have elected beforehand to approve this, or maybe they wait until after January.
So is any of this negotiable, the present JAC and the county? I mean, or just you've made all the changes. We accept it or we don't. That's what you're saying. Nothing's negotiable. That's what you're saying, correct?
pretty much. I mean, it's what it, go ahead.
I would say, we're defining the structure of how the service is gonna work. The MOU is the provision of the actual service itself. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So.
Nothing's negotiable. That's okay.
I think you mentioned the call numbers are gonna be the topic that we can show data for, and if there's a discussion about that, they can argue that data.
Yeah.
But we can show numbers, and if there's a discrepancy with those.
Those numbers for Richland have to be wrong. There's no way we go from an average of 57 to 124. It can't be right. Some got thrown in the shoulder.
All right. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Floyd Bartow, Buena Vista Chair.
Go ahead, Floyd.
Thank you. The only reason I'm here is just could somebody look into Buena Vista being on this list, because we have a 4-year average of 3/4 of a call, and Buena Vista has not contracted with the Richland County ambulance service for several years. That's all I have.
Okay, so, yep. The administrator will look into that and make sure those are corrected. Thanks, Floyd.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Further comments, questions from this group? If not, all those in favor of moving on what are we gonna call it here?
Solution.
Yeah, resolution, any MOU for the ambulance service starting in 2026. Moving it on to full county board for further discussion, signify by saying aye. All right, anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Item 12, discussion and possible action approval of Simon's intergovernmental agreement. Item 12. Mr. Hardy.
All right, so we started the process, the natatorium committee started this process last year. Attorney Wendell came in and helped us work through this the agreement, which hadn't been done in several years. We've been working out the Knowles agreement, which actually still had it was before the city had an administrator, before the county had an administrator. So obviously the structure was kind of invalid. It also had on as one of our members a representative from the UW, which obviously is no longer here. So we wanted to fill that position as well. So we started this again last fall, I guess. Attorney Wendell had a draft for us, and then we put it on hold when the city received this innovation grant, which is going to help us look at our structure. The RFPs for the innovation grant were kind of delayed. So we did bring it back, and Attorney Wendell came in and kind of completed that document for us. We sent it to the city finance committee. They had a couple of requested changes, so they sent it back to us. The natatorium board accepted those changes and sent it back to them. Earlier this month, they did approve it at the city council approved it, sent it back. And so now it's up for your consideration tonight and then next week at county board. Really there's not a whole lot of changes to this, but a couple of the more significant ones. Obviously, the member on the board, we'd like to fill with the Simons Foundation member representative, would fill that old campus representative. And the other one is that this will have a sunset on it next year. So it'll just be a 1 year sunset, so that we'll look at this again next year. Again, there's going to be probably a lot of changes with this innovation study and some potential organizational and structural changes to Simons, but this will get us through the next budget year. And then we can talk about this again next summer, renegotiating.
Let's get it on the floor, see if we have some discussion. Mr. Cooley makes the motion, I'll second it. Now it's on the floor, discussion, comments, questions to Mr. Hardy from our group. Mr. Carroll.
Just real briefly, the changes are the board, the makeup is different, sunset, and what was the other?
Well, it basically, because now that the city and the county both have administrators, the staffing is different. Before the natatorium board had the responsibility of hiring and supervising the director and the staff at Simons. Now Simons is actually a department of the county and answers to the county administrator, for example. That would be kind of that, since that structure's changed with both county and city government since 1987 when the original agreement was in. It's just kind of some of those changes, I guess. And then Attorney Wendell had kind of updated, modernized some of the language, I guess, to make it a little bit more 2000s, I guess, rather than 1980s.
Yeah, just a quick reminder, the original agreement is 2 months older than I am. And so I took out all the language relating to the construction costs and where the land would be, and clarified, Mike, this was before your time, but I remember the I don't know, called Simons Gate, whatever, but the dispute, the conflict between the city and the county regarding the county's position was that they did not receive the information that they needed to feel justified reimbursing the county. The county, I think, expected a certain amount of reimbursement, was not receiving that. So I did my best to clarify that language so that that never happens again. Everybody knows what it costs to run Simons, and everybody will know going into it what they're going to be expected to pay. I do want to emphasize the sunset provision. So unlike, for example, the contract with my firm, which has an auto renewal provision, if there's no action taken, the contract just renews on the same terms. This explicitly terminates. So on January 1st, 2027, this agreement is done. Any money that either party contributes to the operations of Simons is just considered a gift, a donation. There's no input into the operations or anything like that. So I reinforce this over the course of time, but this is something that we, the county, needs to be monitoring and ensuring that these terms are working for everyone. And I even made sure to put it in here because come July, we should be willing, or we should have a draft document to propose to get it through both bodies in time so that, we can continue operation. But it was one thing that the city was very clear on, that they wanted to see. They wanted new terms to last for a year and then make sure that they're working for everybody before we move forward.
Go ahead.
So, Attorney Wendell, you're still also representing the city currently?
So this very second, I am operating purely as corporation counsel. I am still contracted to provide legal services with the city.
I just wondered if this particular job would be a challenge for you too.
So when I was up for confirmation as city attorney, the Simons conflict was the exact situation that I used to, as an example for how I would guide some kind of conflict. And it was basically exactly this, which is let me get ahead of it, put something in place that satisfies both parties so that we don't ever get to the point of conflict. Fortunately, neither party made any unreasonable demands. They were all on the same page that we wanted to keep Simons in operation. Again, though, the county wanted to make sure that it could expect its reimbursements to come in a timely manner, and the city expects to know what those reimbursements will look like. And so once some of the emotional factors were removed, it was very easy to negotiate the final document.
So my question would be, the $1,085,000 and 200, was it 250,000 is gonna go towards Simons?
Yeah.
Capital improvement, so the city will pay half of that?
Right now, they are saying they can have the money to pay half next year. If that ends up being the case, we will just have to postpone that work for a year or look at other options or see if the city's willing to reimburse us in the following year. They just said they don't have the ability to pay it in 26, but would in 27. But I'm sure that's contingent upon we have a continued agreement.
And we had heard from Carol, I think we have 3 years to spend that money, so. That was a question I had, because it agrees to pay county actual incurred operations and all budgeted.
So if whatever happens on January 2nd, 2027, there is no further agreement that's terminated, what happens? Simons doesn't exist?
There needs to, they would have to pull from any reserves that they have to maintain operations until such time as the city, the county, or both decided that they were going to put in place either an interim measure or otherwise fund Simon's operations. Beyond that,
I guess January 1st, 2027 comes fast as soon as we start realizing how the clock starts ticking. To me, that seems like a rather
Well, I think this has in it
reasonable but short time.
that we start negotiating from July.
July.
So that'll give us time. I mean,
That was
the budget
time
process. Yeah, so and that's what we want. We want to know if the city can't afford or doesn't want to be in it any longer, at least we'd have a couple of months where we can go out to donors. We could say, okay, we've got a $50,000 hole to fill. Can we get a donor to do this, or do we have to start cutting something?
You're already thinking that
Oh, yeah.
far in, so thank you. All right, that puts me at ease. I just think that's early.
Well, and that's the start of everybody's budget process, again, July of the next year.
Right.
And that's very good clarification, Mike, thank you, because, yeah, if they get to that point, things will change, and that does not lock them in past 27.
It forces us to think more sustainably so that we're not always relying on tax
Right.
subsidies. And
That's great. All right.
So the city is to pay half, correct? Maybe you and Mark both remember when we blacktopped parking lot there, they would pay half. And I know we never got it. So it makes me a little leery involved on this, just a comment. If you can't do 3,000 or 4,000.
Well, it wasn't just the city, it was Simons himself.
But the city, big part of it. But we
But-
need to be paid.
That's in the past, so.
I know, I just, still lurking.
so that it was, and I incorporated that provision in there. So basically, the biggest change is any big expenditure like that has to be approved before anybody spends any money for the county to expect reimbursement. So if the county moves forward with a capital improvement plan, we're going to spend $250,000 and you approve that at next board meeting, then the county cannot turn around and go to the city and say, all right, now cough up your half, because the city has not had any input. It did not.
So if they don't, we don't.
And so the natatorium board will kind of we'll work with the administrators to put together a budget. And then that budget will be proposed to both city and county. And then that's the authorized expenditures for the year for anything that's not an imminent threat to health or safety. Any deviation of that, we basically have to bring it back before county and city.
Further comments? Otherwise, I'm ready to call the vote from our group here. All those in favor of approving and moving on the Simon's intergovernmental agreement for 1 year, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. 13, discussion of possible action approval of updates to the Pine Valley Addendum. 13.
Second term term. So again, did you guys have a chance to read through any of this or have questions? So the biggest changes is changing the sick time and vacation to match the county policies. We entered in a grievance policy for our staff to follow, to handle any like work-related grievances with one another. Premium pay has been changed to making sure our staff are weekend obligated to cover those weekends. The on-call requirements was updated. Light duty accommodations, that we will accommodate those light duties. Payouts in the event of terminations, layoffs, things like that. I put in there so that there's no questions of how we pay that out. No call, no show policy was added, as that was something that was missing. And we have a few of those here and there. And then the changing of the schedule time. So we're just trying to make sure everybody does in 8 hours. For some reason, they were scheduled 7.45 hours. And we need that overlap for that communication piece for our staff. And then the comp time, we are going to hold off until January, as there's some exemption statuses that we want to take a look at before we implement that. As some of our exemption statuses require that time and a half. And I know that the county is looking at kind of structuring how that exemption looks like.
Questions, comments from the group? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to move it on to full county board. Mr. Cooey makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Manning. Further discussion? Mr. Carroll.
We ever find out first way to have the county hand or accessible to?
We added it to the back, to the, I think the
Administrative drive.
administrative drive.
It's where?
In the administrative drive, I believe, let me double check.
Does that look like on our end?
Yeah, but
So if you go into committee folder, there's admin documents. It should be in the admin documents.
Way there.
Admin documents for powers.
Yep, handbook of personnel policies and work rules, 718.
It's under policies?
Yes,
it is.
Okay, I see it, I see it.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
Any further questions? If not, all those in favor of approving the Pine Valley addendums and moving it on to full county board, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Item 14 is Brittany again. Discussion possible action approval of new private pay rates for Pine Valley, 14.
So essentially what we are trying to do is just change the increase it by $10 per day for our SNF side, and then based off of previous rate increases, $96 for a month for the assisted living. So not too much within the market range, and still competitive to our neighboring partners.
Comments, group? Okay, a motion, we can discuss Cooey. Motion by Cooey, second by Carroll. Any further discussions on the pay rate changes? Questions, comments? If Mr. Carroll.
Do you expect this to have any effect on utilization of the Valley?
No, so this is just gonna kind of piggyback on the cost of inflation's food costs. We are looking at entertaining new food providers, just kind of get those costs brought down. So essentially, to be able to cover some of those inflations, we need to ensure that we are they did not do an increase in 2024. So we definitely needed that increase this year.
Thank you.
No further comments or questions. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of moving this new private pay rates on the full county board signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you, Brittany. 15 is a skip. 16, 1-6, discussion, possible action. Resolution authorizing the revenue from the sale of sheriff's vehicles to be placed in Fund 170 for the new sheriff's fund. Item 16.
So what this is when the county started with short-term borrowing, when vehicles were retired from the sheriff's department, they were offered to other departments, and they were not sold, and money wasn't kept into a fund due to the increased value of used vehicles, the increased cost of vehicles. County departments have their needs met right now. Other county departments, we are looking to have the money put into the new vehicle fund so that we have additional monies for new vehicles when we need them, because we do need to purchase new sheriff's vehicles every year.
Motion by Frank, seconded by Mr. Dave Turk. Discussion.
So in the past, when those vehicles were sold, that money would go back into the account, and that would help cover the changeover costs for the new vehicles. So we've not, and the sheriff's department has not seen that in a while. I think it's a good, that back.
Yeah. But what, Mark, we got one out at the highway shop, one or two, I mean, because they really, at that time, they weren't worth much.
Right.
But now, like Trish said, it's the used vehicle market. So, and they're increasing in price to buy new.
Well, and they're also taking care of them better, the sheriff's department, and how they're revolving and moving them around, and a little lower mileage when they're sold, so that makes them more valuable. I mean, it's a better plan.
Cups.
$250,000 a year, a lot of money to buy new cars. So we don't want to get that. We still borrow that money. If this will help offset that, I'm for it.
Definitely.
Do you know about how many a year, Dave, how many a year are we buying now? On the average?
We've been buying 2 the last couple of years running. Eventually, we're gonna get to a point where I think they need to look at 3, which I believe our borrowed projection through 26 is only $100,000. We're not gonna get 3 cars for $100,000, so we'll need to be considering that for 27.
But selling the cars that are coming out is gonna help that.
Could help, yes.
Further comments? If not, all those in favor of making the change to the revenue from the sale of sheriff vehicles be placed in Fund 170, and we'll move this on to full county board for approval, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that's taken care of. 70, discussion and possible action on approval the transfer of funds from Fund 980 to Fund 320.
So Fund 980 is the revenue from the sale of East Hall went into Fund 980. We are looking to move those funds into Fund 320, which is the funds that fund our campus. So our electric bills, our heat bills, maintenance bills that need to happen. That was underfunded this year, so we will need money to go in there, and then we'll use those funds to help offset the costs next year too.
Makes sense.
Motion by Cooley, seconded by Frank. Any discussion? Carol?
East Hall for how much?
Or it's 150, 175, right after a while.
So there must be other revenue that was also in that.
Yeah. That's not all. It wasn't that bad. Yeah. Trying to remember. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
We'll keep moving. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor of changing the funds from 980 to 320 to help offset campus expenses, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, putting that on the full county board. 19, is that where we're at? 18 was moved up. Discussion and possible action on approval of Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy, item 19.
So this is a policy that I'm bringing forth to you. in 2023, the Federal Pregnant Worker Fairness Act passed. We do not have a policy that implements this, so we have had a policy drafted along with required forms that we are asking you, or recommended forms, I should say, that we are asking you to approve. This has been run by Attorney Windle and approved by.
Motion by Turk, second by Carol. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Does this just get rolled into the county handbook or is it?
My hope is by the end of the year, the county handbook is updated and we can somehow put everything together in one easy spot.
Good question. Any other questions? All those in favor of moving the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy on to full county board, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Item 20, discussion and possible action designating the county clerk to serve as backup county administrator as needed. Item 20.
So early on in my, in this role, this committee and the full county board authorized hiring a deputy administrator from a current employee, given the demand of that position and they're also in their current position, I was not able to find anyone who's willing to do that. In discussions with Chairperson Turk, one of the biggest needs that we need to make sure we are filling is that in my absence, there is somebody here to make decisions. So I'm asking this committee that when I am unavailable, that Clerk Kalish can be the one responsible for making decisions in my absence. It will be pre-planned unless if it is an emergency that it cannot be pre-planned. And department heads will be notified along with Chair Turk when I will be unavailable.
Compensation thoughts?
I think we are not looking to compensate. I think we are really just looking to have somebody who's willing to assist when needed.
Mr. Carroll, let's get it on the floor and we can discuss. Motion by Manning, second by Mr. Cooey. Now we're on the floor.
Since county clerk's an elected official, we add yes to an elected official like that closure.
You can't make him do it, technically. So there'd be a degree of volunteer. So this would be something that would be a clear expectation, but no, the board cannot add to the clerk's
I'm just saying he's an absolute logical person to do that, but I didn't know, the niceties of it.
We ran into the same problem at Southwest Tech when the president was gone. And they had I think it was a gas leak. Somebody hit a gas line near the school. There was nobody there in charge to close school for the day. That has been addressed, and the same thing could be a possibility here, just having somebody that can make that decision. Any other questions? Comments from Mr. Kalish?
If you would like me to comment, I can do so. So, right, like this gets complicated because of the whole elected official thing and Derek trying to serve as the deputy county administrator / county clerk. I toyed with the idea of how we could make this work many times, but in full disclosure, I don't want to work 60 hours a week every single week. I did that when I was serving as county clerk, interim county administrator, and unofficial finance director as well. That's not sustainable, but as I discussed with Administrator Clements, I am totally willing and able to step in while she is away and provide oversight and all of those things. I don't need any pay for that, that's fine. We work so close together with stuff anyway that we're not doing this already, but we just work close enough together anyway that I would just be helping anyway. So I'm fine. I know we wanted something just official, unofficial on the books, that I'm willing to do that. Of course, I would coordinate with all the parties I need to, but I'm willing to assume that role when you all need me to, because it really makes it less complicated for me as a county clerk to separate those duties. It just makes it easier for me to serve in this capacity. So I don't need any sort of compensation for this. I'm willing to do this when it's needed. It's not like it's going to be for extended periods of time. If it is, we can revisit that later, but I'm okay with this. If you'd like to officially designate me to do that, I'm okay with it.
Mr. Frank.
So if, you can't force them to do it, and I get that. And does this even require a county board resolution? Or is this something that can be agreed upon? I'm not sure how that works.
So there is, it works better with the resolution because the county administrator has so many statutory authorities. I mean, it's so far afield as to be a fantasy, but in theory, if it were absolutely necessary that we appoint a department head in the 4 hours, Trish has an appointment or something like that, then
you can fall back to that resolution saying that.
and we can say there's someone clearly designated to assume that statutory authority during this time. I'm sure you have other powers, I just can't think.
Are we putting a sunset clause on this one? Well, I mean, I know you're gonna continue to visit, trying to find that person, but.
I don't think we will look to find a deputy county
Okay.
administrator, did not build it into the budget for next year. Truly with the addition of the finance director, that has been a help. The other part that we're really looking to do in the budget and have built into the budget is to have an HR director instead of an HR generalist. So that will also help with some of those duties. So I feel like with that restructure, we will be in a good place next year and we will not need the deputy administrator.
All right, here. Did you have a question? Nope. Nope. Anybody else? All right. If you're good with moving this on to the full county board to satisfy our legal counsel, we'll signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin chapter 19.85E, deliberation or negotiation, purchasing of public property, investing of public funds, conducting specific public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, potential future use of the campus building is our discussion. We'll take a short recess and let those. Motion by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr. Schoonover. All those in favor of going into closed session signify by saying aye. Aye. And nobody's opposed, so. Clerk Kalish will document that as a unanimous decision to go into closed session. Take a short recess as our people leave, that are leaving.
Get up and.
Oh, you did?
I did.
And what was it? Yeah. They're recording, Roger, good? All right, everyone, we're back into open session. Eric has some information, a question that was asked.
Yeah, for Fund 98 debt balance, so East Hall was purchased for $150,000. The school started making payments, $3,000 a month starting in June. They made their final payment in June of 2023. They made the final payment of $111,000 in June of 2024. Looking back to the activity, there was an adjusting journal entry that was done by the auditors. So I need to look at what that was. It was for accounts receivable. I think they were trying to book some stuff back. So there's $150,000 in there, which that money was earmarked specifically for campus use. We, sold East Hall and then let it sit there until the fate of the campus at that point was determined. So that resolution and that cover sheet you have, when I ran the fund balance report from Tyler, it gave me that number, but then when I looked at the transactions, there was an adjusting journal entries that I'll follow up with the auditors on tomorrow, because they're certainly not 279. And my apologies for pulling that number from the fund report, but that's what I had. So until I looked a little closer, I wouldn't have seen that. So I will clear that up, but the resolution will go with, there's an invoice that we're going to pay out of there, which is why I changed the number from what I originally had. So you'll have an updated invoice with the total that's going to be like 148,000 or something like that. We're going to pay the invoice, I think, for 14 million. So that's, I will follow up with the others.
Thank you for the updated clarification. Moving on to item 23, action on items discussed in closed session. Entertain a motion by Mr. Cook.
Make a motion to move the item from closed session onto full county board in closed session at the next meeting.
seconded by Mr. Schoonover. Any discussion? All those in favor of moving the closed session item from tonight to closed session on the county board next week, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. That has passed. 24, future meeting date because of WCA. What did we come up with?
Or September 25th? No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, September 25th. 5 o'clock.
The 25th.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good, because who's, maybe Mr. Turkis to run the meeting, because I have Southwest Texas that night. Sure. Well, it's your name. And it's my mother's 91st
So we
birthday.
won't be meeting the 22nd.
Correct.
That's the WC conference, I just let it know.
You're available, are you looking? Thursday, the 25th. We talked about the 24th.
Reconfiguration Monday.
Only it'd be. What time? 5?
5 o'clock.
We're going on 25th, right?
Well, Dave's gonna be here.
I can't be.
Next meeting will be the 25th at 5 p.m. September 25th. Any correspondence, Mr. Turk? Sure. Taylor?
Not to report.
Sorry.
I know what you're
We've only been here for 2 hours and 14 minutes. Future agenda items. I had some, but I don't even know if I wrote them down.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
We're coming up on our 6-month anniversary of our hire of our new administrator, so at our next meeting, we should talk as an executive committee about process for conducting a 6-month review of the administrator.
Sure. Keep on that, I had thought of something, I'll let you know if I thought of something. I won't be here.
Then you better make sure we know. So
That's right. All right, if not, Mr. Manning, you have a job.
To adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Chair, all those in favor of adjourning until September 25th at 5 p.m., signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you, everyone.
That motion like forward.